What's up, everybody? This is Cam Hand, the Fantasy Man, coming at you from my bedroom. I just read Connor say that part of his research is adding and dropping the same guy 12 times in a week. And then Logan is coming at me for saying that I am going to say I didn't tell him not to trade Chubb. I did, as anybody does, give my opinion, say I wouldn't trade Jamar Chase for Chubb. It was looking like probably a pretty good idea. Jamar Chase was playing pretty well. And then Jamar Chase gets injured, and then Logan's blaming me. Like I'm the one who pulled his hamstring. Anyway, week 7 fantasy recap. I'm not going to talk as loud because I don't want Doug to hear me. Worst matchup, Ashton versus Sam. Not exciting. Who cares about either of them? Both have 3-letter names. Best matchup was Hunter versus Greg. It was relatively high scoring, a lot at stake. They're both neck and neck in the league right now, and they're friends. Play soccer together, so that made it all the more exciting. So that was a great matchup. Worst injury luck was Camacho by losing Breece Hall and Russell Wilson. Logan might be like, "Oh, what about me? I lost Jamar Chase." Well, Breece Hall is a really good player, and Camacho actually lost him for the whole year. Jamar Chase is going to be out for like 4 weeks. So Camacho gets the worst injury luck this week. Most unlucky is Will. He had 129 points and a loss, and he also lost Amon-Ra St. Brown after one catch to a concussion. I mean, luckily Amon-Ra I think will be okay, but I mean, still super unlucky. He only got 1 point from Amon. Luckiest was me. I barely won against Dylan, and he didn't have Josh Allen or Diggs, so that was really lucky. Now, I will say that it was a pretty unlucky lucky week. I will say, of course, he didn't have Josh Allen and didn't have Diggs, but you did have Paris Campbell pop off. Leonard Fournette and Chris Godwin stunk it up because for some reason the Bucs can't move the ball against the worst team in the league, the Panthers. And then my special teams got me 2 points while Dylan's special teams got him, I think it was like 25. I think it was a 15 and a 10 or a 12 and a 10. So I was very lucky that I won, but the circumstances were a bit ridiculous. And okay, I won't keep going. Dumbest move was Ashton for starting Dante Hilliard. I can't even imagine why he did that. And I'm going to put that over Sam, which maybe I shouldn't, but I'm going to put that over Sam because I think I know why Sam picked up a defense or he used his waiver for a defense. It's because he doesn't care and he's not paying attention. It's not because he's actually dumb. But the Ashton move was pretty just like straight up dumb. There's really no excuse for starting Dante Hilliard. I don't even know how to pronounce it. But yeah, smartest moves was Connor for picking up Gus Edwards. There really wasn't anything better. I think Gus Edwards is going to have a lasting fantasy impact. Con got him, so finally his ad drops have paid off. Best free agent move was Dylan picking up Paris Campbell just for this week. Paris Campbell was the better pickup. He popped off for 28, so Dylan got lucky there. Hunter as most annoying player, even though, you know what, guys? I made this video a little late. It probably should be Logan again because Logan's all upset about, Jamar Chase missing 4 weeks. And then, but I already made it. So this is that I can put Logan in next week. Hunter was the most annoying this week because he was pretty cocky again for winning. Hunter is incapable of being humble while winning a fantasy week. He could be just winning a first half of a game or of the week, like week 1 or whatever, like the 1:00 games. First half of the 1:00 games, Hunter's up. It's looking like he's going to win. Hunter's going to be the cockiest guy in the room. And he also says copium way too much, guys. I don't know if anyone else has realized this, but he says copium before we even made a thing of it. He was saying copium probably 12 times every hour, if not more. He was just claiming everything was copium. He was saying, he was texting, he was typing in the chat, copium, copium, copium. This week at Summits, he was just raging about copium. I mean, so Hunter, the copium thing was annoying, and also the fact that he is like low-key the cockiest guy in the league. Stock falling is Doug. 2 losses in a row. He had a sub 100 performance. I mean, sorry, but I got to put you in there for that. Stock rising is Camacho. I mean, I think I had him here last week, 4 weeks, and despite the Brees Hall injury, he's still looking sweet. So yeah, stock rising still Camacho. Best player this week, although he was the most annoying, he was the best player. He put up the second most points. The Seahawks defense play was actually a respectable play, given how many interceptions that team has been giving up, that Justin Herbert's been giving up. They haven't looked that good. Everybody was roasting Hunter for picking the Seahawks against the Chargers, but that was a good play. He played DJ Moore, who popped off. That was good. The Eno Benjamin play, while kind of obvious, was good, and then the Njoku play, that was pretty solid too. So I give Hunter the best player. Worst player was Doug, sub 100 performance, a few bad decisions. He had the Jags defense playing against the Giants, which wasn't a great defensive pick. But you're pretty much going to get worst player if you go sub 100. Did it for myself even. I would say Hunter had that dog in him, second most points. He did it by taking out Greg in a high-scoring matchup. And although he was annoying, he was bombastic about it. He was getting in people's faces. He was barking at people. So he had that dog in him this week. There is Hunter's favorite player, Antonio Brown. He loves that guy. Here's our scoreboard. I added dog in there, so now we know Hunter's had 2 dogs in him, Greg's had a dog in him, and Will has also had a dog in him. Now, there's not as many dogs as these other categories because I started doing dogs in like week 4. So anyway, Hunter gets the second most annoying. I should probably honestly give Logan an annoying because he kind of deserves it, but I won't. So there we go, guys. This is our rankings this week. Camacho gets the number 1 spot with 16. See, the colors are I made them better. Like, they're more tiers now. Camacho's sort of in a little bit of a tier of his own, but Greg, Hunter, and Connor are sort of right there. Me, Will, Logan, and Alec all have 9s. So I obviously, big shock. I'm a little bit biased to myself. I'm obviously going to put myself at the top of the group with 9s. And then there's Doug, Dylan, and Sam. Ashton, you guys can look at your scores, but Dylan is falling fast, and I'm moving down a little bit myself. But anyway, next week's worst matchup is Ashton versus Alec. Next week's best matchup is Hunter versus Connor. 2 big dogs right now. Close in points, close in record. It's a big matchup. Big dogs. Also 2 of the more cocky guys in the league as well. Season segments. Okay. So here we go. Let me do a little history lesson here. What is copium? Copium is a highly addictive drug that can be administered in a number of ways. It can be digested through food, smoked, can be snorted, and in some extreme cases, someone may even inject it. This drug is derived from individuals that tend to blame outside sources for their own stupidity at an above average rate. When you are trying to cope with something and you refuse to blame yourself or admit you were wrong, you produce a chemical in your body called copium. Scientists have recently found a new way to extract small amounts of copium from these high copium producing individuals, and some are even selling it on the black market to people who cannot deal with how dumb they really are. People who need more copium. Doctors are taking the copium from high copium people and giving it to lower copium people who need more copium. For example, Joe Biden and Donald Trump are individuals that produce absurd amounts of copium in their very own bodies. They produce a lot of copium. Doctors then visit Donald Trump or Joe Biden or these individuals on a weekly basis to extract some of that copium from their bodies because too much copium can kill you. So they need to extract the copium. And instead of throwing all that copium away, these doctors sell it on the black market, and dealers turn that copium chemical into physical substances that can either be eaten, smoked, snorted, or in some cases, injected. So that is what copium is. How much copium? Greg for refusing to back down on Gabe Davis. 5 lines of copium. Greg this week sent me stats that are insanely irrelevant to prove that Gabe Davis is good. I'm going to look at them right now. This is what Greg sent me. Oh, goodness, where is it? Greg. I mean, he sent me stats that were just so ridiculously irrelevant. They were Gabe Davis's stats in the last 2 weeks. He has the second highest average depth of target. He has the eighth most yards per route run. So this is when he runs a route, it is the eighth longest or something. Yards per reception, second. Okay, he got like 2 receptions. Yards per target, first. He gets like 3 targets a game, so who cares? Now, fantasy points is good. He had 2 good weeks. I mean, he was second in fantasy points within wide receivers this week. But fantasy points per snap, third. Whatever. This was just for 2 weeks, and Greg is sending me basically telling me that when he does get a target, it's a good target, but rarely does he get a target. So anyway, that's 2 lines of copium for Greg. Those are pretty irrelevant stats, just to send me to prove a point. Can't see the comparison between him and Allaire. Greg hated Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He thought he was a little bit of a fluke because he got low volume but high. He was getting a lot of points off low volume. It's exactly what Gabe Davis is. And he denies stating that Gabe Davis was the best red zone target in the league. 1 line of copium. He did do that. And Greg refuses to acknowledge that he said that Gabe Davis was the best red zone target in the league. Logan, for thinking he's been getting unlucky with waivers and ad drops, a pack of copium cigs. Logan just thinks he's been getting unlucky with that, which in reality, that's just copium. Logan, for blaming me for Ja'Marr Chase getting hurt and for Logan not trading Ja'Marr Chase, 2 lines of copium. I don't run his team. That was his decision. I was just giving my opinion that he shouldn't trade Ja'Marr Chase. Not really a hot take. Con, for believing that the Colts are making a comeback. 3 copium dabs. Like the Colts look so bad, and Connor is so blinded by Matt Ryan love that he can't see that Matt Ryan stinks and the Colts stink and that they're not going to be good. Now, Connor believes that the Colts are making that Connor, for thinking they are benching Matt Ryan to save him for next year and to tank 1 injection of copium. That is the most copium I've ever heard in my life. Connor thinks that in week 6, the Colts are benching Matt Ryan so that they can tank. And then later he said that if Frank Reich doesn't make the playoffs this year, they're going to fire Frank Reich. Why would Frank Reich give himself a worse chance of winning to tank when you think he's going to get fired if they don't make the playoffs? None of it makes sense. They benched him because he was partially injured, and they're not going to bring him back because he stinks. So that was just absurd. Camacho, for saying he eats dry noodles because they taste good. 1 line of copium, as we know. Camacho eats raw noodles, uncooked noodles, and that is because he's crazy, but he says because he thinks it tastes good. Copium. Dylan, for saying that women are better than fantasy football. 2 cups of copium-laced liquids. Dylan stinks and just doesn't care that much about about fantasy football, so he uses copium to or copium makes him say that women are better. Who cares about fantasy football? Copium. Ashton, for saying that Hilliard has just been getting covered hard. Copium sig for Ash. I was told that he said that the reason Hilliard wasn't having a good game was because they're covering him hard. That is untrue. It's because he doesn't get a lot of touches and he stinks. But Connor is the copium leader for this week because of the whole Colts are making a comeback. No, Matt Ryan is really good. It's the O-line's fault, and they're just benching him to tank. I mean, that's big time copium. How many dabs, man? This is going to be a long video. Hunter, for saying copium so much that I had to make a segment out of it. 11 dabs. Greg, for crapping on Freiermuth, the 8th best tight end in the league. As you guys know, I was saying that Freiermuth was better than Ertz, which isn't true. But then Greg just started being like, Freiermuth stinks. And I was like, okay, well, he's been pretty good. He's the 8th best tight end. He's missed a game and got hurt halfway through one. Greg, for loving Sky Moore at the beginning of the season. 1 dab. Greg was super high on Sky Moore. Greg, for saying a person's bench doesn't matter. Greg, I mean, that's more copium than dabs probably. But Greg was saying like, oh, no, a bench doesn't matter. You know who I think wishes they had a better bench right now? Camacho losing Breece Hall, Logan losing Ja'Marr Chase, me losing Mike Williams. Benches matter big time. Greg, for downplaying his hype for Gabe Davis and then continuing to hype him up. Greg was like, I didn't say he was that good. And then proceeds to hype him up even more. 5 dabs. Greg for sending me irrelevant stats to hype up Greg Davis even more. 6 dabs. Com for his inappropriate love for Matt Ryan. 17 dabs. Com for saying that they are benching Matt Ryan to tank and then saying that if they don't make playoffs this year, Frank Reich will be fired. Those are 2 extremely conflicting statements. 25 dabs. Con for dropping like a madman and then picking up OBJ and Deshaun Watson. 5 dabs. Connor from still making bets on Sleeper. 10 dabs. I was told that someone checked it out, and Connor has lost like 10 bets in a row on Sleeper. I don't know if that's true, but still 10 dabs. Ashton for playing Hilliard, 5 dabs. It would be more, but Ash has low tolerance. Will for asking where the Falcons game is. I told Will I was going to the Falcons game in like 2 weekends, and he was like, oh, where? I was like, where do you think? Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz. Anyway, he was ripped. 6 dabs. Dylan for dropping Damian Harris, 29 dabs. A lot of you would have liked to have seen that be the dumbest move this week, but Damian Harris didn't play well, so I couldn't put that on there. Dylan for saying that he accidentally played Chase Edmonds 3 weeks in a row. It's the 3rd week Dylan has said to me, oh, shoot, I didn't mean to play Chase Edmonds. I'm like, okay. 15 dabs. Sam for using his waiver on a defense, 15 dabs. Logan for thinking I shouldn't be biased for my team. Look, I'm making these videos. I'm going to be biased towards my team. That's how it goes. If you were to ask the coach of the Charlotte Hornets right now who's going to win the championship, they would say the Charlotte Hornets. Even though that might not be true, you got to roll with your team. That's how it works. All right. Logan for thinking I run his team, 10 dabs. Camacho for a brief trade talk, 4 dabs. There was a trade that was in talks between Camacho and Will, and I thought it was I thought it favored Will, right? And so I texted Camacho. I offered him a trade. It wasn't a good trade, but Camacho was like, yeah, you're not getting me. Not this time. You're not swindling me. And I was like, okay, well, that trade you and Will are talking about looks pretty crappy, meaning I was kind of roasting him for making a dumb trade to Will. And he was like, well, I was just trying to see if Will would take a crap offer, meaning Camacho thought I meant that he was the one swindling Will in that proposed trade. And I was like, I just didn't respond. But in reality, Camacho would have gotten swindled. And anyway, I don't know if you guys understand. I'm not going to explain it more. But Connor wins with 114 dabs. I really wanted to give it to Greg, but Connor with the whole Matt Ryan thing this week and the OBJ Deshaun Watson thing just kind of took the cake. So anyway, keep going. All right, who's out of the league? I would say Alec is at 70%. He's gone down a little bit. He's saying he doesn't have time, that whole thing. Dylan is about 75%. His commitment's falling. He keeps apparently accidentally starting Chase Edmonds, so he went up to 75%. Sam needs to be out of the league. I mean, he used his waiver claim on a defense, number 1 waiver claim nonetheless. And Camacho, 50%. Rumored to have lost interest, but his team's looking good. So I was wrong. I thought Josh Jacobs would be a total bust, but he's been sick. So I was wrong about that. Is that good enough for you, Logan? I have a segment that says where Cameron was wrong. I do criticize myself a little bit. Whiffer hit Connor, Barkley, Eckler, Pittman, Metcalf, Pierce, Pickens. I'm going to run through this because it's not that important, but and this is getting long. Treylon Burrow, weekly vibe check. Connor, I spelled it, gets upset when you spell his name wrong, gets way too cocky off 1 win. Or a prediction being right, is a crazy diehard, Matt Ryan fan. He does love the games. He makes crazy, absurd ad drops when he's high. Will drop someone just to pick him up 3 days later and 25 pickups later. Calls his other league the big league when it's clearly not as competitive. He loves Marietta. Loves Marietta, and then he says things like, it's part of my research when he add and drops the same guy for the 9th time in a row that week. That is not research. I think Dylan's going to accidentally start Chase Edmonds again this week. I would say that's a lock. Weekly TikToks. We'll do this quick. Luckily, I've already pulled it up. And I think these are good. I'll just do the one. This one's hilarious.
I like X. I like Gesicki going that way. Everybody going that way. You know what I mean, Frank? Yep. You got to wait a little bit. You got to let the play develop. Call it now. Now. X, Frank. X. He's wide open. You got to hit it sooner. Frank. I like X. X.
That reminds me of Connor and Travis, for those who know him. This is funny, too.
Y'all killing me with this. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this.
I like that. Even though it's not true for Harley, because Greg's still doing good. All right, let's crank up the last things here. It's going to be like random rankings. The person who has cried the most in their life. So who's the biggest crybaby? I'd say Camacho, probably secretly. Ashton's cried a lot. Alec, I think, probably cries a lot, low-key. Logan, he probably would be higher if I was doing this again. Dylan, big crier. Hunter, big crier. Connor, meh. Doug, secretly. Will, never cries. Greg, never even heard him really laugh. And then me and Sam. Who secretly loved the new Taylor Swift album? Definitely Camacho. Definitely Ashton. Loved it. Ashton's probably not even secretly in love with that Taylor Swift album, but Alec definitely liked it because some girl probably likes it, so he pretends to like it. Logan's listening to it in the gym. Dylan, same. Hunter, probably likes a few songs. Connor, Cameron, Will, Greg, Doug, Sam, they don't listen to that. Who would I want to date my daughter? This is a recurring one, but Sam, because Sam doesn't exist, so nobody. I would probably go Will next. Will's a stand-up guy, even though he's one thirsty dude. Greg, Connor, surprisingly. Logan, Camacho, that's a hot take. I probably should have put Doug higher there. Ashton, Dylan, Hunter, I wouldn't because Hunter would be hitting me up for money. And then I would rather have myself date my daughter than Alec. 12 players 12 players I'd rather have than Gabe Davis. Now these aren't in order. It's just 12 guys I'd rather have. Now, first of all, who knew that Gabe Davis was this ugly? I didn't know that. I'd rather have James Robinson. I'd rather have Juju. I'd rather have Njoku. I'd rather have Devin Singletary. Rather have Lazard. Rather have Jacoby Myers. Rather have Chase Claypool. Rather have DJ Moore. Rather have Josh Reynolds. Rather have Drake London. Rather have Chris Olave. And I'd rather have OBJ. Now, the OBJ thing is a joke, and Josh Reynolds, too, is kind of a joke. But the other guys, I'd probably rather have them than Gabe Davis. Anyway, that's it, guys. That was a big video. Sorry about that, but let's watch Thursday Night Football, and let's do it. I totally forgot how to end this recording.